Hello, I'm Sabrina Nagel, Global Finance and Policy Advisor at the Arsht-Rockefeller Foundation Resilience Center at the Atlantic Council, and it's my pleasure and honor to be here with Dr. Mahmoud Mohieldin, UN Climate Change High-Level Champion for COP27. Great to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. I have two questions for you.
Sure.
The first one is, yesterday we launched a call for collaboration between banks, investors, and insurers and policymakers and governments to accelerate private finance for adaptation resilience. 5 governments committed and joined and support this. Why do you think this is important?
Well, I think it's a great leap forward by learning and doing at the same time. I think there are many things that we can learn from the good collaboration between the public and private sector. I would add philanthropies as well. That was behind many of the success stories of good projects in mitigation. Solar plants, wind farms, many good experiments as well that went to scale after that in decarbonization, or basically with this mix that you just described between the government, policymakers, between the investors, and of course, those members of the private sector who are implementing projects in the field where the whole of action happens. I think we can go on complaining that the share of climate finance to adaptation is small, that the private sector finance is 2 to 3% globally. But I think there are two developments happened. First, good identification of areas of work from water management to food system, agriculture, building resilient in infrastructure, deforestation, and desertification. And now we have the health as well as a potential area for work. And of course, some of these areas could be with more comparative advantage to the public sector, others with private sector. But we are seeing now, realizing more important projects, as we have seen in the pipeline of bankable investable projects that had a fair share on matters related to adaptation. Some of them are linked to energy nexus with adaptation areas like in water and food. But we are seeing now the traction of ideas and projects to the private sector.
You mentioned all this progress happening, and there's big momentum building this year at COP around financing adaptation resilience. What would be your key recommendations in the next year and for the future?
Some of the very successful partnerships had their good announcements here in this COP based on the following. First, that you need really to have really short time frame for these projects to be delivered. That's what we saw in the case of the loss and damage, completely different from the adaptation, but this is the third line of defense after adaptation and mitigation. But the good thing is that you give a task to a small number of people and give them a very short but reasonable timeline for them to action. The second one is basically identification of where the partnerships can be better done. Some of them could be between public and private sector. Some of them need to be enhanced by philanthropies. Some of them may benefit from the involvement of the multilateral development banks and international financial institutions. The third, that global matters look better from 40,000 feet high, but we need to be close to where it should really happen, either at the local level or at the regional level, because we see in many good success stories, the regional dimension and the local dimension was an element of success. And then we need to remind ourselves of the following. Finance is very essential, but alone will not work. It needs to be supported by evidence to direct finance where it should go. Issues related to technology and technical assistance, the capacity development are very important. And we need really, especially in the areas of adaptation, we need to pay more attention to policy frameworks, regulatory standards, and incentives toward the change.
Thank you very much for these insights. And these are all the important areas that we also describe in the call for collaboration. If you want to learn more, if you want to sign up for the call for collaboration, please join us on 1billionresilient.org.